As a drag racer himself, and recognizing a serious need in the industry for a truly functional fuel pump to meet the demands of these high horsepower engines, Sid Waterman set about designing one himself. He introduced the first Waterman racing fuel pump in 1982, and the racers who debuted them set new elapsed time records at the track. The company offers products for all forms of circle track racing, including World of Outlaws sprint cars and midgets, and in NASCAR stock cars, NHRA, IHRA, monster trucks, IndyCar, USA Champ cars, sprint cars and midgets, and most all other forms of racing and motorsports, with over 150 world championships. Sid is a member of the Drag Racing Hall of Fame, and in 1975, he received the Carcraft Magazine All-Star Drag Racing Team Engine Builder of the Year Award, then followed that in 1984 with the Carcraft Magazine All-Star Drag Racing Team Special Manufacturers Award for Fuel Pump Development. Carcraft Magazine recognized him yet again in 1986 with their Special Manufacturers Award for his supercharged burst panel. In 2004, he was again honored, this time by USAC, when he was presented with the prestigious CNA Jack O'Neill Award for significant contributions to auto racing safety. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Sid Waterman.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This is really quite a special day for Waterman Racing Components. I left Mickey Thompson on March 31st, 1979, or pardon, I'm taking it, 1967. And on April Fool's Day, opened my own business. That will be 50 years this coming April 1st. Not too many people in a small company like mine have made it for 50 years. I envy only my old pal Ed Iskandarian, who has made it a lot longer than I have. In fact, I used to buy parts from Ed. This has been a real long time coming thing. Aeromotive and Steve Matusik and I and Vic Wood and Jack have been talking about this for going on 3 years now. At the beginning of this year, I had some serious health issues. It made me take a second look at how life is and how life goes on and what you're supposed to do with yourself at a certain period of time. I'm going to step down a little bit, get back a little bit, and become an advisor and a consultant for and with Aeromotive as a joint venture. It is only at this particular time that I can actually take some time and give my loving wife of 49 years the time that she needs, finally, for her to have some time and relaxation. It's not fair for me to do everything, but when it comes to the home front, she did everything. She was at my bedside for 13 days this year when I was early in the year when I was in the hospital. Wouldn't leave, wouldn't go back home. And once I got myself back to health, it's been a great situation. It's things that I've always come up with is, I've looked at racing this way. After working with Mickey and his ideas, wherever there's a problem in racing, there's generally a product. It's just a matter of being with it enough, and that's how I call it, with it enough to say, that problem needs to be fixed, and how can you do it? That was the same with the burst panels when we came up. I was with Carl Olson when he told me that Atlanta was going to have to move the grandstands 40 feet back from where they were because of a blower that had gotten up into the grandstands. He said the only way we can change that is if we can convince the insurance companies that we can do something to keep the blowers on the cars. I developed the burst panel, and it was wonderful for the first 5 to 10 years. Well, then I came up with the idea that, I was in the fuel system business. I had gotten out of the engine building business and kind of semi-retired up in Northern California. Start out and realizing there was a real need for a good high-pressure fuel pump in auto racing. Never did I realize that the top fuel cars, which ran, 100-pound fuel pressures, and at 13 gallons a minute, would wind up running fuel pressures at over 600 pounds, and now the pumps we build are 110 gallons a minute. We can literally drain two 55-gallon drums in 1 minute with one fuel pump. Once I got into once I was in the fuel system business, I got a phone call from USAC. And USAC said, we're forming the Indy Racing League, and we need you to design a 3-stage fuel pump for the Indy cars. 2 scavengers, 1 primary, all in 1 pump. And by the way, it can only be as big as your fist. We did it, and they've been running those pumps since 1996. We've had every car at the Indianapolis 500. Then we got involved. I got a phone call from Hendricks Motorsports, Randy Dorton, before he passed, unfortunately, in that plane accident. He said, we're having too many fires. We understand you make a fuel pump that could be mounted somewhere besides the side of the block. So they flew me back there. I met with the people from NASCAR. I was always told, you know, the only way you're going to get involved with NASCAR is spend a lot of money and give them a lot of money. They called me. They were appreciative of what we came up with. The following year, there was not a single fuel pump fire for the whole racing season, and they were having 3 to 4 a week. We've done a lot of stuff for this sport, and I'm proud that I was able to do so. Now it's time for me to join forces with somebody who I have a tremendous amount of respect. I consider them a young company. They've only been in business 30-something years.
20, I think.
What's that?
20.
20? Yes. Oh, okay. So I've been in business twice as long as they have. But this is a very, very aggressive young company. And their advertising program and everything is something I've never done. In fact, most of you here that might be working with papers and magazines and so on and so forth, I'm probably the cheapskate that won't advertise with you. I've built my reputation on the product design and making a product that was basically foolproof. There's no such thing, but I came as close as I could possibly do. I have had a customer that sent us a fuel pump back about 2 years ago. It was built in 1988. It was number 5 fuel pump out of now 15,000. He sent it back to us, had the original flow chart. Put it on my flow bench, ran it up, had a little bit of a drip from the rear seal, no big deal. Ran her up to RPM. It was 200ths a gallon better than when I sold it to him in 1988. So unfortunately, I didn't build any obsolescence into my product. You know, and obsolescence is everything. But fortunately, I kept coming. Every car in the world has to have a fuel pump. If it's got an engine, it needs a fuel pump. So now we are involved with dirt late models, sprint cars, champ cars, Indy cars, NASCAR, all 3 divisions. And I want to bring some of this knowledge to a very good, young, aggressive company and share ideas with them. And Steve Matusak has been an inspiration in this whole thing. And I think Steve is the one I'd like to introduce right now. Steve?
How do you follow that? We're only 23 years old, so we're old enough to drink. That's about all I can say. You know, I remember Sid from when my dad, first time I heard the name, my dad used to run Altereds and dragsters, and he had a front engine dragster with a Hemi in it. And there were some people here from Pittsburgh that remember. Ted Wolf is one guy that remembers my father. And that was the first time I heard Sid's name and got an understanding of what he did. As the years passed and I got into business, I got to meet Sid. And, you know, for anybody that knows anything about this industry, anybody that's a purist, that was a real thrill for me, because we didn't get involved in this industry because we felt like we could make money. We got involved because we loved it. So once I met him, there was a great, great thrill. And now that we have the opportunity to link our companies together, I mean, it's a dream come true. I mean, to take a true pioneer, somebody that's been through the wars and went through all the process and built engines for, you know, my heroes when I was growing up, and figured out how to do things, fuel systems that were out of the box. I mean, I have a great respect for that, because there are a lot of parallels that we have. You know, our company is also the type of company that doesn't do Me Too type products. We do things out of necessity. When we race for purpose. At least that's what I tell people when we don't win. But we're always out there trying to learn. We're trying to push the envelope, and we're trying to solve problems. And when we had the opportunity to talk a couple of years ago, it was just, you know, it was amazing, because I could listen, you know, to the history forever, and I can relate to it. Sid was telling you some stories about some of his products. We're the same way. I could almost tell you how virtually every product was born that we have developed and why and what we did. And not all of them are winners, but that's how you learn. So when we started to talk about if there was an opportunity to put our companies together, there's not a lot of crossover. There's a little crossover because the necessity that I had a few years ago when we were building a turbo Pro Mod car was we didn't have a fuel pump big enough. So the necessity there is a fuel system company. We can't run somebody else's fuel pump. Nothing against your product, but we had to design our own. So that was virtually the only crossover we had, and we quickly learned that's a different technology, and to have now with mechanical fuel injection systems and have the entire tune-up dependent on a fuel pump just blows my mind. I'm not sure I want that responsibility, but that's the way these things operate. But we're really excited. I mean, this is an opportunity to get into some markets that we're not into. We really primarily are involved with drag racing, street performance, and the marine market. We're not involved with anything in the IndyCar. Some of our products have migrated to NASCAR, but this is going to be really, for me personally, a unique opportunity to sit down with a legend, to learn some of the things that he's learned. I probably never learned what he forgot, but I'm anxious to learn as much as I can and work together and continue to develop new products. And we're looking forward to April 1st, which will be his 50th year in business. And we will have a big party. Not sure where yet. Maybe it'll be in Topeka at the national event where Pro Mod is. And you'll hear more about that later. But we're looking forward to our next chapter in our company's life and working with a legend in the sport. Thank you.